Welcome back to another exciting episode of Javier in the Air. This is the continuation of Snowpocalypse 2021. We had a rough week. Not only the Cedar Park area, but the Austin area and Texas in general. I'm gonna make this entire episode about the Snowpocalypse. It's not going to be very long. I'm just going to show some stuff that has happened, do a couple of voiceovers, talk a little bit about coming out of it, and then we'll go from there. Last week we talked about the snow. I showed you some of the snow that was going on, and I showed you, yeah, pretty much all that snow that was there. So this week, for those of you who may not have known, which I'm sure you have, because most of the people watching this are in Texas, we had a hell of a time. We had the snow come down and pretty much just lock us into our house more than COVID has. We had power outages, we had water loss, we had more power outages. We had power come back and then back off. We had water being cut off, and still, in fact, in some places, they're still on a boil notice. We went from Monday, I believe the lowest we got around here was 0 with a real feel of like -4 to right now it is currently, let me get the exact temperature for you. It is currently 61 degrees. I'm sorry, 73 degrees. So we went from basically what was a -4, let's just call it 0, from 0 to 73-degree swing in 7 days. So that is extreme, but that is Texas weather for you. So let me show you some of the I'm sorry, let me show you some of the pictures that I have of the different areas of the snowpocalypse, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about what to do during snow or adverse weather conditions, how to save a little bit of money while you can, how to save your pipes if you can, and how to get through this if you are stuck at home and have more than one person in your house. So I had only myself, so it made it a little bit easier. There was no freight tensions. There was no freaking out or anything like that. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But let's look at some of the pictures that I have. Okay, so here we see a little bit of the aftermath of all the brushes being cut, and so it was really quite crazy on what it was. So then you also see, here's another one of the Yeti, and the Yeti, it looks like a Yeti in the bottom right. So see what you got there. So as we started to see some thaw, and you started to see some icicle works, no, not the band, some actual long icicles that were pretty crazy. So it depends on what you like to see. Hopefully this didn't cause any damage. And then you started seeing memes like this pop up where they showed a little bit about the uh, that they finally showered in lieu of the I voted type of thing. I thought it was pretty funny, so I wanted to put it on here. And finally, you see this is the Sprouts shopping center that there were some people that were actually making it out there, and you see lines of cars out there. My neighbors actually made it out there and then had a heck of a time trying to get out of it. So it turns out these were some pretty crazy times. So there you have it. Simply some of the quick photos that I had that I threw up on here so that we could take a look and really see what was going on. As you saw, there was a lot of craziness going on. Let me tell you, the first couple of days of this week, Monday, Tuesday, and even into Wednesday, there was absolutely nothing going on. as you saw on last week's podcast, you had some crazy people throwing, pulling their children behind their car on a little sled, and you saw the picture that my sister Norma had from the little area park. Not really a park. It has a couple of backstops on it, but it really is like a floodplain drainage area that doesn't see much action because we don't get a lot of flooding these days. However, it was being used that time. So you saw the guy actually snow skiing on there, which we thought was pretty cool. So, and if you didn't have a chance, look at last week's episode, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So there was none of that this week. There was just hunker down because we all might freeze to death in the irony of living in Texas. So and I try to keep a positive and humorous bent on there, but there was a lot of people that were hurt and injured, and there were some people that actually died from this cold, and that is very unfortunate. And wish that it didn't happen, but we have to deal with things like this from time to time in our lives. And, this is a great story for you to tell your kids 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Or if you're around my age, it's a great story to tell to young people when they're growing up and they won't believe you because we're in Texas. Or global warming may have hit, and so the summers get longer and then the winters get longer, and then you have this winter for a whole year and you have summer for a whole year potential to happen. And then you can talk about how we were stuck inside for 4 days as opposed to whatever time they have at that point. Anyway, I digress. So it was crazy. A lot of water outages. A lot of people were without water. A lot of people were running out of food. As I talked about on the last podcast, I had actually stocked up, ordered groceries, got some groceries in, got some liquor in, and I was ready to, withstand the cold. However, some people did not prepare, and so let's talk a little bit about that. Um, what you really want to do these days, I don't know, we're not talking about the past, we're talking about these days now, is you want to have something called a survival kit in your house or in your apartment or wherever you live. So a survival kit can be something as easy as a hand cranked radio. You can get some of these at Walmart and Sports Authority and different types of sports shops. And you don't even have to go that crazy. You can go online and Amazon and get it like that. So what it is basically, for those of you who don't know, it is a radio that can be hand cranked. Now, what is the use of that? It's the use of that is that you can get onto the emergency broadcast system signals that get put out there during this time of crises, and you are able to then hear what's going on. So that's what you want to do. So radio. You want to have a lamp of some sort that gives off heat. You definitely want to have, flashlight or an LED light that they have nowadays that save energy and it's really good and all that. But some of these don't give off any heat. So you want to have some kind of one, maybe one with a little bit of kerosene in it, or if you don't want to go that extreme, something that just has an incandescent bulb on it that will give off heat. Finally, as far as technology goes, maybe you want to have a space heater that is kerosene used, or even if you want to have maybe let's move on to the other things. So maybe you want to have matches available, and maybe you want to have um, the strike everywhere type of match. Maybe you want to have a butane lighter, or just a regular lighter. You put that in a bag and keep that bag somewhere safe, in a closet somewhere. Take it out maybe once a year and check all of that, make sure it works. You can even use those little tins that you get for buffets. Little what are they called? They're not kerosene. I'll think about it and I'll come up with it. But people know what I'm talking about. So you want to have those, and those will give off a little bit of heat. There was a lot of memes going out there on how you can try to spread the heat around. Um, for your house, and then if you don't have a fireplace, or if your fireplace uses propane or uses gas, and you lose that. Something else to put in the kit: some dry canned food, and a can opener, hand opener, unless you have one of those old church keys, but I don't think anybody has that anymore. So you want to have some of that around. Something that, again, you hold on to after a year, you swap it out, so you keep the kit always viable, so to speak. You want to have maybe a couple of towels thrown in there. First aid kit, and that's a great one that you can have a first aid kit, especially if you have a lot of people that live with you. First aid kit, swap it out every year. You have a first aid kit that you have at home that you use, which I recommend if you don't have one. And then what you do is you buy a fresh one every year and replace it with that, or every 2 years for the first aid kit, depending on how you want to do it. You have your first aid. You have a little bit of heat. You have light. You have a little bit of food. Now, you can add more food in there depending on the number of people that live with you. But as I said, you always want to swap it out every year or 6 months, however, tight you feel about keeping your bag, first aid kit, survival kit, whatever you want to call it. And that can be used for any time, not just during snowpocalypse like we had this week. Hurricanes, tornadoes, um, flash floods, anytime you lose power, and that sort of thing. So now, to wrap all that up, you might want to throw in a deck of cards, Uno cards, a small, maybe, chess set that's like a travel set of games. So if you lose power, then you have that. Maybe a book of crossword puzzles. Definitely throw in some pens and pencils. You want to have a utility knife. You want to have. Um, I think that will be about it. I think what you also want to do is probably have a couple of jugs of water. It doesn't have to be a lot. You're just there to be on the safe side. And again, now those jugs of water, I would probably replace every 4 months or so. Now, I'm not saying now this whole thing will probably cost you $30 or $40, and so that's probably the best way to go. So let me. I need to check on something. Speaking of trying to check on something, I'll be back and I'll tell you what I checked on. Hey, so I'm back. So the reason why I interrupted myself was that I wanted to go and make sure that my pipes were actually that the outdoor pipes were closed. So yesterday I went around the house and I made sure that I didn't see any leaking at all, which is one of the things you have to do down here in Texas when there is a large freeze, especially for more than a day or so. And here it was about 5 days where we were in freezing temperatures. So um, if you have not lived down south before and you're used to, like, oh, the pipes are insulated and they're double insulated and they're inside the walls and you don't have to worry about it, that is not the case here in Texas, specifically down here in central and south Texas. They are very close to the exterior wall. The exterior wall is only an inch thick or so in some places. There is some insulation, but if you're in an older house, the insulation has probably been diminished or flattened, or maybe not even there. Especially if you had some work done. I recently had siding put on my house I guess about 4 months ago now, and they put all new insulation in, and then they put up the hardy plank. So I knew that I was good as far as that was concerned, but I wrapped my pipes anyway. And by wrapping, there's a couple of things you can do. Now, the services had said, one way, let your faucets drip, let your outdoor faucets drip. And then on the other side, they were like, oh no, don't let them drip because we have water outages, and so it may cause a buildup and it may cause even more damage. So where do you go? Well, the good rule of thumb is in the beginning, unless told otherwise specifically for that situation, let your pipes drip. So I let my pipes drip inside, and drip I mean like a drip every couple of seconds. Some people said you should do a steady stream, but I didn't do that. And again, if you lived in your house long enough, you'll know whether you should, which way you should do it. So I let them drip. All my faucets drip. I check the bathroom, the bathtubs every now and then. Let your water came out. Now for the outside, like we were talking about. Sorry, I got off on a tangent. So on the outside, there's a couple of things you can do. I wrap mine in towels. First, I let them drip a little bit, and actually after the first night, they stopped dripping. So there was somewhere along the line, inside or out, was frozen for the outdoor pipes. But I let them drip at first. I wrap them in some insulation foam that you can get at Lowe's or Home Depot or wherever you go that wraps around the pipe. And actually, there's an adhesive strip on both sides, and you can just set it like that. And they have different thicknesses and different diameters and then different lengths as well. So I wrapped that around both of my outdoor pipes, and I also checked a couple of pipes that were not water pipes around my air conditioner heater unit, and I made sure I wrapped those as well just to be on the safe side. Yes, I'm a little about doing that, cautious. That's the best way to say it. Then I also, so I had the foam on there. I also put a towel around there because if the water got on the towel, perhaps it may do another extra layer of insulation and keep things a little bit warmer. Not really warm. I mean, it's still probably going to freeze, but at least it'll hopefully keep the pipe safe. So then I was told to put plastic bags around there. So I had a ton of plastic bags, and I put like 5 or 6 around each of the 2 outdoor pipes that I had, and just to keep extra safe, extra precautious. And so you can do 1 or 3 of those, or all of those, which were the 3, and to protect your pipes. So rather, like I said on my Facebook page, rather you drip a little water and pay for that in your bill next month than to have to pay for all new pipes. Which would you prefer? So I prefer to pay a little bit more and be careful. So we take care of the pipes, we take care of the survival kit if you lose power and water, and so also to have a little fun. So now one of the things you also have to worry about is getting outside. So if you have dogs or pets of any kind and you're used to walking them or let them go outside to do their business, one of the things you need to do is to be careful about walking on your sidewalks, on your porch, on your driveway. Anything that's cement, you need to be extra careful. Grass, you still want to be a little bit careful, but since it's all frozen, you can probably stomp on it and you'd be okay. But for anything that has cement of any sort, what I did was after the first snow came down, I brushed off using just a big push broom that I have. I brushed off all the snow off of my little stoop area, and then I put towels by the garage door to try to keep the heat in, and I let that door stay open like during my work hours to try to get some heat in there. Also because one of them, the pipe was still exposed from the outdoor pipe when they fixed it. So if you have rock salt, best thing to put on there, sprinkle some on your driveway, on your sidewalks, wherever you're going to walk, where your animals are going to walk, and try to let it melt so that it's just dry or at least kind of light, wet cement. If you don't have that, you can try Epsom salts. Now, Epsom salts dissolve very quickly, but you might be able to at least get some of that melting going on so that you can get rid of it. I highly recommend what I did, which was to brush off the snow off my front porch, and then I found a big piece of plywood that I had left over from a project that I did years ago, and I used that as a snow shovel and shoveled a walkway area from my front sidewalk down my driveway down to the street. So if you have to deal with snow for more than a day or two, I recommend that. It didn't. I didn't unblock my cars. I didn't unblock this and that and the other. I didn't want to just like, oh, I just want to unblock this. I simply did it so that if worst scenario, someone had to get to my house or I had to get out of my house, I wouldn't fall on my ass. So that's basically the main reason why I did it. So where do we go from here? We cover the pipes, the survival kit. We cover what to do, some suggestions on keeping your sidewalk safe for you to walk on. Best case scenario that I can say and recommend, and I talked about it last week, was if you know there's going to be adverse weather conditions coming up in your neck of the woods, whether it be frost, freezing, snow, flash flood, tornadoes, what have you, try to get in things in advance. Now, I know sometimes the grocery stores will get a little crazy. I was actually okay because I did it far out enough because I was told early enough that we were gonna have issue problems as far as trying to get out and trying to do things. That I was able to get out and get a lot of the stuff done that I needed, to the point now where I am avoiding the grocery stores because one, there's people who need it more than I do. Two, I have enough to survive for at least another 3 or 4 days if I want. And three, might as well just avoid that whole horribleness. I drove by an HEB near me this morning, and there was already a line around the block, and it was like 8:40 in the morning, and they just opened at 8. So I decided against it and said, you know what? There's more people that need to get food and groceries more than I do, so I'll just let them do that first. I can wait till Wednesday or Thursday, and I'll still be good. I got plenty of insulation, if you know what I mean. The whole gut's still there that I can survive a day or two without food. I got plenty of water, and I have food anyway, so don't everybody be concerned. I have plenty of food, but we're just talking about non-dire essential things that I just want to have because that's, as a human being, I just want that extra comfort. So all good. Now. Emergency issues. Stay off the roads if you can. Allow the emergency services people to do their thing. Let them get free and clear to places that they need to. Your friends, your family, anything. You know what I mean? Try to help them out where you can by keeping the roads clear. Don't go out just because you're bored. That is bullshit. Don't. There are plenty of things for you to do in your house that you can do without power. Remember reading. Remember talking to your kids. Remember talking to your grandparents if they're there with you. Remember talking to your parents if you're there with them. Remember board games and card games and just reading a damn book. Don't go out unless you have to. Now we're good, and so it's like 70 degrees out there, so everything's nice. But during the time, don't go out just because you're getting a little stir crazy. If you're not used to staying at home, walk out to your front porch that you've cleaned off and just enjoy the clean air out there. Don't be stupid. Try to avoid it. Also, don't be stupid and say, well, there's drivers and I'm going to pay for a driver to come deliver me food. Again, I call bullshit on that. Unless you absolutely have no food in the house at all, don't, in a situation, let the drivers be the ones that will be in danger. You don't want to be out there. I guarantee you they don't want to be out there. I know that they may need money. I know this may be their only job. So if they have to be out there, I hope everybody is tipping them well. But if you really do not have to be out there and you don't need that food, don't order. Now we're back to everything good, but there was times where I was seeing people asking about, hey, where is their stuff open, or who's delivering right now? And that is just horrible. That is just absolutely horrible. Don't do it. Don't ever do it. If you have ever had to drive in adverse conditions, which, by the way, there's no salt trucks here, there's no snow plows here, so when stuff freezes over, we're all screwed. So it's not like they're clearing the roads and people are just able to drive willy-nilly up and down the road. Roads were frozen over. You need to stay off the roads, especially to protect the emergency services people that are out there having to drive because you fell or your friend fell or your family is sick and they need to get picked up to go to the hospital. So think about that the next time we're in this situation. And so we're going to go from there. Hopefully next week will be a regular week for us. I think so. I think we're going to be back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So thank you for listening to this podcast. But before you go, I have a special one that I told you I wasn't going to do it, but I have it, so hold on. Hey, everybody. I said we weren't going to do beer this week, but I lied because I got a nice drop off here from the bro. Now back on the beer board. Haven't seen this in probably 6 months or so, if not longer. So I went ahead and just marked it 115. I'm hoping that's correct. So the brewer is Distill. This is out of Normal, Illinois. Oh, a couple of guys on little tiny bikes. Yeah, you guys are cool. Anyway, so this is Distill. This is Pre-Yet. Pre-Yet. Yes, the R and E are spelled like that on the can. This is a Russian Imperial Stout. Thanks to the Boutique for giving this to us. Here is the can of it right there. So you see the R and the E are backwards. This is, like I said, 11.4. And it has a lot of words on here that you can see. A lot of words. I'm not going to read them all for you. But so it's aged in oak barrels. And now we're going to... Oh, if I don't lose the beer glass... If it starts to spill, I may stop this video. So here we go. Ah, that's nice. Gonna give a full pour on here. All right, so definitely has the look of a stout. Not an overwhelming smell to it. It's good, but not overwhelming or overpowering like some stouts have. Well, you definitely get a little bit of the rum aged barrels there. Kind of a smoky taste. I don't really taste much. Did they say there was chocolate in there or something?
Yes, dark chocolate roasted nuts.
Oh, well, if it's roasted dark chocolate, now that might actually be what part of the smokiness that I'm tasting. Let me try it again. Yeah, I think it's really good for a stout. I don't know. We have a guest performance here. Rob, how many thumbs up would you give that?
What's the scale? Up to what?
Up to 10, and we do include partial decimal points now since we proved that on the panel.
I'm going to give it 8.5.
8.5 from Rob. All right, so I'm going to go down to the thumb section here, and I'm going to go 9.1. Thumbs up. There it is. Thumbs. 9.1. So if you have a chance, they're back open and ready for you guys to come in. That's the Boutique. This is Distill's Pre-Yet Russian Imperial Stout, 11.4. Ha! Snuck a beer review in there from you. And I brought back the chalkboard. There was a reason why I hadn't used it for many months. And I finally got rid of that reason. Had someone pick it up and take it away, and now there's room for that board again. So thanks for the Boutique, which Robert just went by and got that beer for. So thank you, Boutique. Having a good time here. I'm glad everybody that I know has made it through Snowpocalypse or Snowmageddon, depending on what you want to say. Hopefully we are out of the blue as far as the blue frozenness goes. And so we'll be back to a regular week. If anybody wants to be interviewed from their businesses, especially if you want to try to bounce back from Snowpocalypse or Snowmageddon, and you want to raise a little interest, feel free to let me know. Direct message me, and we will go from there, and we'll have a good interview, and we'll talk about your business. If you haven't, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Javier In The Air. You can find it by searching Google or searching YouTube for it. And we will be back. Hopefully I'll have some interviews lined up. If you want to talk about it next week, I'll probably choose a subject probably tomorrow or Tuesday, and then see if anybody wants to talk about it, and then we'll certainly talk about it. So we're back to normal next week. Thanks everybody for listening, and have a good week, and I'll see you again soon.